Sun, I was working on my album project, and I was asking my producers, to their confusion, was to actually tune it to 432 instead of 440, which is the hertz, right? So it's the basically where you tune your instrument to, and it's kind of what Janet was talking to you about, the certain tones and certain frequencies actually being healing. And I don't know if you guys have heard of the Schumann resonance, but it's like the vibration, like the heartbeat of the earth, basically. And it's what we as earthlings also have the same resonance. And so when we tune our instruments to that frequency, we have, like what Janet was talking about, there's an expansion that happens within our cells, within our consciousness. We start to get activated and open up. And so I was telling Jared before, like, I've always wanted to put together a project that had conscious, like, even if it's pop, I say that really loosely, but like, so that it could access the youth and give them an alternative to start to, like, you know, go out and dance to, but they're actually chanting because they're repeating my chorus or my verse, and they're all empowerment messages. They've all got, like, you know, because essentially when you're singing a song, you're chanting, you're, you know, especially if it's rap, you're like, you know, you're doing all this stuff, not that I really rap, but it's how can we use 360, all the elements of that song, to how it's tuned, the rhythm, the actual energy of what's being put in there. You could also, you know, tone down specific frequencies that are actually being emitted through the music, so that it's actually uplifting and it's empowering. And so there's like so many layers or facets of how to create music that heals and empowers and really ignites someone's soul and their calling. And so I was kind of experimenting with that and just being conscious about, like, the word, every single word. Like, what would music be like if we thought about the impact of the words? Like, okay, so let's say this is going to reach someone when they're at this moment in their life. And I remember being, like, suicidal at 13, and, you know, like, having been through such a traumatic experience and abuse and stuff. And, like, yeah, I don't know, if I had the big version of me singing songs that were actually, I could put on and go to school, and even though I was getting so bullied at school, it was like I could change my frequency to actually create a different reality versus constantly be observing the fact that I had nobody in my life. You know, like, it's just, there's so much that we can do. And so I guess, yeah, like, for me, it's I've always wanted to make sure that the artist, but also what the artist is putting out, but that starts with taking care of the artist, you know. And then it's like we naturally want, because we're vibrating at a higher frequency, we naturally we're drawn and attracted to different types of experiences and different types of expression. And so so that's kind of like, I guess what I was talking to Jared about was just, like, being conscious of all of those different elements and the power that all of our words have. And also, like, as an artist, if you're out there touring the world every single night, you're channeling a certain energy that you've experienced or you want to put out there. Like, what do you want to be experiencing daily? What do you want to be connecting to? What do you want to be communicating? What impact do you want to have on those hundreds of thousands of people you're singing to? Like, what are you doing? Like, what is it that you want to, I don't know. I even just down to, I studied sustainability at university. Like, why don't we have, like, big stadiums that are all eco-friendly? Why don't we serve food that actually creates a vibration in the people that are listening to the music, their bodies, that has them leave feeling more energized? Why are we giving them sugar and fat food, like fast food? Like, there's just the whole 360. So you can kind of see where my brain goes with this. It's like, well, then we could do this and then this and then this. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one thing I want to say real quick. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I just want to, one thing that you had mentioned that I was gonna mention too is that I think one thing that's really interesting to both of your points so far is, I think that I agree in terms of positive tones create positive vibrations and all of that. I think one thing that I've noticed, and especially with pop music, is that I think that not just the scales that we're using, but the message that's behind it. If there's our words, because
corrupting the children, and it's just like, in this world we're literally in a spiritual war, and it's not a fight between good and evil. It's the fact that evil has been dressed up and made to feel that it, like Satan and the devil, or C.S. Lewis wrote a book. It was Letters to the Devil's Nephew, and basically in it he says that the greatest deception was to make people think that the devil wore red spandex and had a tail and horns. And if they can make it so that evil is dressed up as something that it's not, and then they can slide that in. It's just like, if you have 90% truth in something and there's 10% mistruth, but you don't know how to figure out or discern because we haven't been taught how to actually use the teacher our soul hired ahead of time, which is the intuition, to discern that information, the 90% doesn't matter, because ultimately the 10% corrupts it. So I feel like with everything that's going on right now, and with Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and the Sustainability Act and the Georgian Guidestones, all of which are revolving around the depopulation of the planet and the dumbing down of our kids and their education system, and then getting them to become desensitized with all of the training, with the programming of not just the propaganda on TV, but also in the video games, and killing people and making a target that doesn't mean anything ultimately easier to then turn into a real person that does, but doesn't, because it's the order that the soldier takes in order to kill and complete their task. It's like, I feel that with everything that we're all experiencing, there's so much corruption right now that ultimately, if we don't choose to dream a new dream together and say, okay, yes, that's their agenda, and that's been the agenda that they've had for as long as, like, they basically, what's playing out right now from my understanding is the Nazis' backup plan in case they didn't win World War II. And so everything that's been going on, and all the pollutions in the environment, in our food supply, in our toxic culture, that whole...
But it came back for a reason, and it came back for the reason and purpose of healing and helping people to find healing and expression. And so this is what I'm doing. And this is a project that I want to invite you all to be a part of, and to contribute to, and to be part of what lifts and builds the world. And so I would love to work more with Janine, to work more with Mira, to work more with Nessa, to get everybody working together, to just, whether it's with our own producers or wherever we're doing our own albums, our own singles, I want to create a label, a mark, a way people can know that we're all part of this movement to lift and to heal and to build the world, to get away from the depressive, the destructive course. And it seems like a planned destructive course that has driven so much of what we know as the music industry for so long. I think what we can do is use our individual talents and abilities to lift and to build. And so that's what I'm here for, and that's kind of why I called the whole meeting, and you know, the inspiration from Laura to sit down together with all of you, to table this discussions, to bring our lights together and say, hey, let's do this.
I think
That's good, Jared.
it's absolutely